heaven, thank you for, the incredible weather, for starters, and an opportunity to be able to gather with other believers and to be able to fellowship this week and to be able to connect. Lord, I pray that not only will we connect deeply with you, but that each one of us will have opportunities to connect deeply with other believers here, and that each person here will get to have a deep, meaningful conversation this week with somebody. And now, bless us now as we head into this presentation on parasocial evangelism and digital evangelism. I pray that you will give me clarity of thought and give each of us ears to hear what you have for each one of us today. I pray this in the name of Jesus. Amen. All right. So my name is Larry Witzel, and I am the founder and president of SermonView. We are a digital and direct mail advertising company in Vancouver, Washington. We've worked with over 2,500 churches over the last 20 years, helping with evangelism marketing, promoting evangelistic events, and that type of thing. So over the last, let me go back one slide. Over the last, there we go. For the last 4 years, I've been working on a PhD in strategic media. And the presentation today is an attempt to take some academic concepts and make them applicable for pastors and church leaders and members to be able to do digital evangelism in your own setting. So if I use PhD words, I apologize. I'm trying really hard to make this simpler, but I hope that each one of you will be able to get something from this. The other thing I want you to think about today is God has a message. God has an idea for each one of you. There's a big idea that you're going to walk away with. There's something today in this presentation that's going to grab hold of you, and you're not going to be able to stop thinking about it, okay? When that happens, stop and reflect. Let it seep deep into you, because thoughts are good, but action is better. And my goal is to see every one of you take something from today and put it into practice in your ministry, even this week, all right? So you're going to be thinking, what's the big idea for you? And there's going to be lots of ideas, but for each one of you, God has a big idea for you that you're going to walk away with. So take notes, write it down, and then tonight, as you're going to sleep, reflect on what did God have for you today, and then how are you going to apply it? Yes, ma'am. Can I take a video? Sure, they're videoing it as well. So you're welcome to, but those are really good cameras. So, all right. So I'm looking around the room here, and I see no digital natives. So I'm going to talk to us as if we're like my age. The world has changed. The world is different today than it was 25 years ago. Anybody remember what the yellow pages were? Has anybody seen a Yellow Pages recently that wasn't used as a high chair for a kid? So today, the average American adult spends nearly half their waking hours in the digital space. 48% of their waking hours in the digital space. And yet many of our churches remain analog islands in this sea of digital. When Jesus said to go into all the world, I believe that he foresaw what's happening right now, and he wants us to go into the digital world as well. And so today, what we're going to be talking about is how to reach people where they are half the time in the digital space. Specifically, we're going to be talking about a new form of digital outreach, what I call parasocial evangelism. So like I mentioned, this came from my PhD research. I just defended the dissertation like 4 months ago, so it's still pretty fresh. Really relevant research. But I think that there's something deeply impactful and powerful for each one of you today in this presentation. Before I get into where we're headed, I want to give a pitch for SermonView's Ministry Insights podcast. This is a weekly podcast. It's specifically for pastors and elders and church leaders and local churches, just offering inspiration and education and affirmation for ministry. And it's on YouTube. You can listen to it on whatever your favorite audio podcast player is. There's blog posts. You can go to sermonview.com/ministry insights to get the links for where to do that. And I would love it if you at least checked it out, listened to an episode, and gave me some feedback on what you thought. I'm curious. This is going to embarrass me, but has anybody heard of Ministry Insights up to this point? Really? Okay. All right. So 2 is like infinitely more than I thought it would be. So, all right. Let's talk about where we're headed in the presentation today. Let's see if I can get this working. My remote quit working this morning. So, all right. All right. So here's where we're headed. We're going to be talking about the evangelistic dilemma, why both proclamational and relational evangelism are struggling. We're going to talk about the digital transformation of society and what that means for the church. We're going to talk about what a parasocial relationship is. It's kind of a weird term, but it's a heavily researched phenomenon. We're going to talk about that. And then we're going to talk about a communication model I developed called the parasocial evangelism. We're going to talk about how to cultivate these relationships online, how to harvest them for evangelistic impact. I'm going to share some practical steps on how to create short-form video, recording tips, how to have a sustainable workflow, and finally, I'm going to tell you about Real Faith, which is a service that SermonView has to help you get started with short-form video content. I'm also going to talk about if you don't want to be a social media influencer for Jesus, that's okay, but you have a role in digital evangelism. If you're on social media, you have a huge role in digital evangelism. We're going to talk about that and what you can do to support digital missionaries in their outreach efforts. So even if you decide that, nope, this is too much work, I don't want to be doing this myself, you have a role in supporting other digital missionaries, and we'll talk about that. Okay, specifically, we're going to be talking about short-form videos for social media. And I want to give you an example of what I mean. This is a video by Alex Portillo. He's a pastor here in the Oregon Conference up in Clark County, where I live. I'm going to play this video. This is the type of short-form content that I'm talking about.
In Psalm chapter 12, the poet says that the wicked speak with flattering lips and beleb va beleb, which is difficult to translate, but roughly translates to with a heart and heart. And many English translations render it as double heart. In Hebrew conception, the heart is the seat of the mind. So to be double-hearted is to know one thing, but to say another. In this case, they know the truth, but they flatter and lie instead to accomplish their goals. And this is contrasted to God's words, which are like refined silver. Hence, the safety of those who are assaulted by evil speech is not to return evil speech, but confidence in God's word.
All right, so that's an example of what I'm talking about, and you should make a note of his Instagram handle, at Samberto Alejandro. I'll leave this up for another second so you can write it down. You should subscribe to him. We'll talk about why toward the end of the presentation. Okay, so before we dive in, I want to be crystal clear about the goals for evangelism, all right? I'm going to be talking about digital evangelism, but the goal is not just to have lots and lots of followers online. We're going to be talking about building the illusion of a relationship with people on social media, what scholars call a parasocial relationship, but that's not the end goal. That's just an intermediate step. We're not trying to build a digital church. We're not trying to build a cyber church. We're not trying to build an online church. Once these relationships have been cultivated, we want to transition these relationships into in-person connection, because our evangelistic process isn't done until we see a fully devoted disciple of Jesus who's connected in the life of your local church, a disciple who's making other disciples. So what we're going to be talking about today is just the first step in that process. And in the traditional Adventist evangelistic funnel, we expect people to have a fairly sophisticated Bible understanding for us to even begin having a Bible study with them. What we're talking about is a tool that extends the funnel up so you can begin building relationships with people online who have no connection, no background in the Bible, in order to begin cultivating that relationship before they enter the traditional evangelistic funnel. So what I'm describing is just the first step in this evangelistic process, but it's a step that's currently missing in a lot of our evangelistic efforts. Let's talk about the evangelistic dilemma. For the last 100 years, churches have relied primarily on two forms of evangelism. The first is proclamational evangelism, where we gather a crowd together, we preach, we have meetings, evangelistic series type of thing. The other type of evangelism that has been heavily used is what's called relational evangelism. This is where we build trust one-on-one and we journey with somebody side by side over time. Both of these models are biblical. Jesus preached to the crowd. He also talked to Nicodemus one-on-one. The early church did both. Proclamation, public proclamation. Peter preached to the crowds, 3,000 were baptized. But they also went from house to house teaching and preaching the gospel. In the modern church, these two methods went hand in hand, two sides of the same coin. But in the 1950s, the broader evangelical community began to pull these apart. And neither method is working the way that it used to. They're not as effective as they used to be. Let's start with proclamational evangelism. We're seeing lower turnout for public meetings. It's hard to draw a crowd even with strong advertising. Culturally, there's a growing skepticism toward anything that looks like a pitch or a performance. And even when people do come, many struggle to engage with a long series of nightly meetings. And we've all heard the critiques. It's too long, it's irrelevant. What are these beasts? It's outdated. So at the same time, though, relational evangelism is also hitting roadblocks. People are more isolated than ever. And social anxiety is through the roof, especially among millennials and Gen Z, the emerging generations. People are not looking for new relationships with strangers. In fact, many are actively avoiding them. So we're left with a dilemma. The event-driven model is not drawing crowds the way they used to, and the relationship-driven model requires access to people that we no longer have. I mean, think about it. There are young adults who go to work or they go to school, they connect with people, and then they go home and they spend the rest of their day on social media. If you ring their doorbell, it will terrify them, and they will not come to the door. For my kids' generation, when their friends come over, nobody rings the doorbell. They text and say, "I'm here," and then they open the door, they come in, right? You're not going to, if you're going door to door, you are not going to reach any millennials or Gen Z. Not any is a strong term. There are still a few you might be able to reach. But overall, the tendency of this generation is to cocoon at a level that we've never seen before. And they spend their time on social media. Okay, so I know you're thinking, Larry, we still do both. We still do preaching. We still do relational evangelism. We're still connecting. And I'm not saying that we stop. What I am saying is that we need something in between. We need a bridge that is something that people can, something that can reach people before they step into a church, before they trust us enough to sit down at a coffee shop, before they're ready to join us for a Bible study. And that's what led me to study parasocial relationships. This third category is the illusion of a relationship that people build with media figures, and it turns out to be a really effective on-ramp to both proclamational and relational evangelism. It's not a replacement, it's a prelude. It opens the door. So to understand why this moment matters, we need to look at the digital transformation of society. Let me paint the picture. As of 2024, 97% of Americans use the internet regularly, 97%. It's got a higher penetration than the highest penetration of television sets at the peak back in the day. Over 72% of Americans, 3 out of 4 Americans, use at least one social media platform every month. 3 out of 4 are on social media. And the average adult spends 7 hours a day online. That's 48% of their waking hours. Almost half of their conscious life is spent in the digital space. We used to knock on doors. Now people won't even answer the phone if they don't recognize the number, right? And yet those same people will spend 2 hours a day on YouTube. We're living in what's called a digitally mediated society. People form opinions, they discover truth, they build trust in digital spaces, long before they ever enter a physical space. And if the church isn't in this digital space, how are we going to reach them? Because someone else is already there. And here's where it gets really serious. We're not just talking about attention spans or entertainment choices. We're talking about identity formation, especially among younger generations. Gen Z, those born between 1995 and 2012, both of my children, age 16 and 20, they're both Gen Z. These are digital natives. They didn't adapt to this world the way that we have. They were born into it. And the fact is, they're facing a mental health crisis like nothing that we've ever seen before. Since 2010, diagnosed anxiety among college students has jumped 134%. I think I've skipped some slides here. Let me jump ahead. Since 2010, diagnosed anxiety among college students has jumped 134%. A 2024 study showed that 44% of teens feel anxious without their phones. Yeah, you've probably seen it, right? And 39% feel lonely when they're disconnected. All right, so why does this matter for evangelism? I already mentioned it, because social anxiety makes people less likely to engage face-to-face with somebody that they don't know. And that means that your invitation to Bible study, your community cookout, your friendly wave on the sidewalk can be intimidating. And it might not get through, but here's what they will do. They'll watch someone talk to them through a screen. They'll follow your church's content without ever clicking like. They'll listen to you week after week if you're online, building trust with a face that they've never actually met in person. And that's the power and the reality of today's digital landscape. And that's why we have to shift how we think about outreach, because in a world that's isolated and anxious and deeply online, digital presence is not optional anymore for ministry. Digital presence is missional. The field is ripe. We need to get there. We need to get out there and start harvesting. Okay, so let's talk about a concept that's going to sound academic at first, but I promise it's extremely relevant to ministry. It's called a parasocial relationship. A parasocial relationship is the illusion of a relationship that somebody has with somebody in the media. Okay, I'm looking around, I'm seeing some people. Anybody remember Walter Cronkite? All right, Walter Cronkite, you felt like you knew the guy. And every night on the CBS Evening News, he came into your home, and he was a trusted voice for what was going on in the world. People had a parasocial relationship with newscasters back in the day. Today, they have parasocial relationships with social media influencers. Okay, this is a one-sided social connection. Here's the thing. It's one-sided, but it leads to an emotional reaction that's amazingly similar to a face-to-face social interaction. Think of it like this. You never met them, but they feel like a friend. You know their voice. You recognize their mannerisms. You trust them, but you've never actually had a real conversation with them. That's a parasocial relationship. As you're hearing about this, how many of you reflecting on this say, oh, I have a parasocial relationship with somebody. There's a podcaster that I follow, or okay, you guys need to get online more. All right. So this is what a parasocial relationship is, and it's everywhere. The podcast host that you listen to every week, the YouTuber who reviews tech gear or talks about the Bible with their cat on their lap, right? Pastor on Instagram who always seems to put the right words out at the right time. You don't actually know them, but it kind of feels like you do. And here's what's fascinating. Even though it's one-sided, the brain treats it like a real relationship. Neurologically, We don't distinguish between someone on a screen looking at us through a screen and somebody sitting in front of us. Neurologically, it's almost the same. So when we watch someone consistently over time in a personal and authentic way, our brain starts to say, I know this person. This person matters to me. This person is somebody that I trust. And that's why parasocial relationships are so powerful. And for us as church leaders, this opens a major opportunity. Because in a world where fewer people are attending church, in a world where people are unwilling to come through the doors of a strange place, but they're watching content online all day, all week, we can become trusted voices before they ever meet us, before we ever meet them in person. And a parasocial connection is not about faking a relationship. It's about opening the door to a relationship. It's the digital equivalent of someone standing on the back row of your church, at the back row of your church for 3 weeks, never talking to anybody, but watching before finally they say hello to somebody in the lobby. It's a step toward trust. And for people who are anxious, unchurched, spiritually curious, it might be the only step that they're willing to take at first in this digital world. So what do we do with that? So first I want to ask, does this idea of parasocial relationship, does this make sense? Okay, all right. So let's talk about how to leverage that for evangelism. This is where parasocial evangelism comes in. This is the concept at the heart of this entire talk. Here's the big idea. We can intentionally cultivate parasocial relationships through social media, video, and other tools. And then we can harvest those relationships evangelistically. This is what I call parasocial evangelism. Now, this is not about going viral. This is not about getting 1 million views from people all over the world. It's about creating meaningful spiritual connection at scale with people who are not yet ready for an in-person connection, for an in-person discipleship. And here's where this really diverges from the secular model. Social media influencers do things intentionally to cultivate parasocial relationships, and then they monetize these relationships. They monetize, they turn it into money. Monetization it's a business term, but social media influencers talk all the time. How do I build a following so I can monetize these followers? They want you to buy merchandise. They want you to buy the t-shirt or the sticker or the hat with their logo on it. They want you to join Patreon and support them so they can continue to make content. They want you to click the affiliate link. They do this so they can earn a living. I'm not saying that there's anything necessarily wrong with this, but as pastors and ministry leaders, we have a different goal. We're not trying to make money. We're trying to make disciples. This is not about monetization. This is about evangelism. So we're using the same digital relational tools as social media influencers, which we're going to talk about in a second. But instead of harvesting those for profit, we're harvesting them to invite people to take the next step in their spiritual walk, right? There's always a next step in your spiritual walk. And this is an opportunity to invite people to take that next step, whatever that might be. It could be a free Bible study offer. It could be a digital prayer request form. It could be an invitation to a live stream. Or best of all, it could be an invitation to a personal visit to your church service or to an evangelistic event, a bridge event, or an evangelistic series. What I discovered in my research is that these relationships can be incredibly powerful. People who watch your content, even if you don't know them, develop enough trust to allow you to speak into their life. I had one pastor tell me that he was getting a haircut once. He'd been doing videos for about 6 months, putting these videos out. And he went and got a haircut, and the guy in the chair next to him kept looking over at him and finally said, "Hey, have you been posting videos on Instagram?" And he's like, "Yeah." And it became an opportunity to begin a spiritual conversation. How many of you would die to have a young adult come up to you and say, "Oh my goodness, is that you? Oh, what's going on?" And now you can turn around and go, "Man, it's so nice to meet you. Tell me what's going on with you. Where are you at?" And because they trust you, because they feel like they know you, they are willing to open up to you at a level that it accelerates the relationship. Even if you know them in person, having that parasocial component, it moves the relationship along. Okay, that's the fruit of parasocial evangelism. It's not about celebrity. Who cares whether somebody recognizes you in the grocery store? It's about access. It's about building a connection through a screen that opens the door to something deeper. It's not the whole evangelistic process, like I mentioned, but in today's culture, it might be the only viable first step for a lot of people in today's society. And once that trust is built, that's when we get to move the relationship from digital to discipleship. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm going to tell you how to cultivate parasocial relationships, and then I'm going to talk about some ways that you can harvest parasocial relationships. All right? So how do we actually do this? How do we go from being a stranger on a screen to a trusted voice in someone's spiritual journey? So in my PhD research, I identified 8 communication practices that consistently helped pastors build strong parasocial connections with their audience. These are the same techniques that secular social media influencers use, but again, our purpose is different. These are the 8 essential tactics for cultivating parasocial relationships online. Okay, first, you need to post consistently. It's about presence. You can't build a relationship, parasocial or otherwise, without showing up regularly. Why do we go to church week after week after week? Not to worship. You could do that anywhere. It's to worship together. It's to have that social connection. And by being present week after week, you can build a connection with people at church. I'm talking about doing the same thing, but doing it in the digital space here. Okay? When people see your face several times a week in their feed, it builds familiarity, and that familiarity is the first step toward trust. Now, you don't have to post every day, but I'm saying if you're going to post consistently, at least once a week, no weeks off, week after week after week. Better yet, to accelerate that parasocial connection, you can post 2 or 3 or 4 times a week. Repetition is what creates recognition. Recognition is what creates the trust. All right? So consistency. Posting consistently is the number one thing that you need to do to build parasocial relationships with people online. Second, use what's called direct address. You use direct eye contact into the camera. So you're looking directly in the camera lens and you're talking as if you're talking to the one person on the other side of that camera. You say you, not everyone. You use a warm conversational tone as if you're excitedly talking to a good friend. And so instead of saying, we all struggle with discouragement, you say, hey, you might be feeling discouraged right now. And if that's you, I want to speak to your heart for a moment. That subtle shift helps the viewer feel like you're talking just to them, and that helps accelerate the development of parasocial relationships. You're having a one-on-one conversation with each individual who watches the video. All right, so that's the second thing, is use direct address. You're looking in the camera and talking to the person as if you're talking to a friend sitting right across from you. All right, the third thing is to post widely. You want to be using the same script, perhaps with some tweaks, but the same script across multiple social media platforms with posts that are tailored to the unique characteristics of each platform. As you spend time on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, these are the 4 main social media platforms for digital video today. As you spend time on these, you'll begin to see subtle differences in how people communicate on each one. So as you figure out these differences, then you can tailor the post to that platform. But you want to be on multiple platforms. And in fact, one scholar defines a social media influencer as somebody who posts regularly on at least 2 social media platforms. So posting widely is the third thing that you do. Number 4, add value. This is a hard one to understand. You want to focus on creating content that speaks to the felt needs of the target audience. I have a friend who's been trying to do these videos, and she talks about how she makes coffee in the morning. Who cares? There's another guy who's a pastor here in the Oregon Conference who talks about how to make chai. But while he's making chai, he's talking about spiritual need. He's talking about, he's speaking to the current situations in the world. He's talking to people's heart. One is just talking about coffee. The other one is talking about something else while the chai is just a hook, something that he's known for. You guys know Cross Culture Kev, right? He's the pastor, one of the pastors over at Sunnyside. Okay, focus on creating content that speaks to the felt needs of the target audience. You can share practical Bible knowledge for everyday life. It's about knowing your audience and speaking to their needs. After seeing a video, you want them to think, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, I could apply that to my own life. That's what you want. You want to be adding value, creating content of value. All right, that's the fourth thing. Number 5, self-disclosure. Offer self-disclosure. This is simply revealing something about yourself. Tell stories, personal stories to help connect with the audience. It's about vulnerability. When you share your personal experiences, especially your doubts, your struggles, those awkward moments, you become more relatable. People don't bond with perfection, they bond with honesty and authenticity. In fact, one of the most surprising things I found in my research was that negative self-disclosure, when you're telling something embarrassing or a failure or something that you feel pain about, that's more powerful at increasing trust and deepening the parasocial connection than something that's neutral or positive. So if I were to, just think about it. If I were to tell you about the hard night that I had a few months ago with one of my kids and how that impacted me and how the mistake that I made in having that conversation with my child hurt me, you guys are paying attention right now. As opposed to if I say, hey, I've got 1 million followers on TikTok. You guys are like, who cares, right? Self-disclosure, those are both self-disclosure. One's telling you about a point of pain that I have. Another one is telling you about a success that I have, right? I don't have 1 million followers on TikTok. That was just an example. I can dream. So negative self-disclosure is more powerful in increasing trust and deepening the parasocial connection than neutral or positive self-disclosure. But any self-disclosure is better than none. And this is something that, as I've been following some of these influencers for Jesus, some people do this better than others. So self-disclosure, that's something to keep in mind. Here's the thing. Your scars might be the very thing that helps somebody in their spiritual journey. Somebody just told me this week, your scars might be somebody else's survival guide. So don't be afraid to share your scars. Okay. Number 6, be authentic. This is about showing up the same way every time. Not scripted, not staged, but consistently real. Authenticity is the currency of the digital age. People don't care if you stumble over a word or if your lighting isn't perfect. What they care about is whether you seem genuine. You want to be the same person on video that you are in the church lobby. You want them to see the real you consistently, and that's how trust is built over time. All right, number 7, express positive feelings. This one's so interesting, and it might seem small, but it's huge. In my study, I noticed that secular influencers do this really well. They'll talk about, there's these guys, what are they called? They do like trick shots down in Australia. How ridiculous is yes, how ridiculous. They dropped an anvil onto a car, At the end, they do like 20-minute videos. At the end, they always say, hey, we love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Is it a genuine expression of love? Actually, probably. Is it the same as expressing it to a close friend? No. But people receive that. And that positive expression of feelings helps to build the parasocial relationships. Pastors and influencers for Jesus, one of the things that I talked about with my dissertation chair is why they don't do this. I studied 9 social media influencers who are pastors for my dissertation, and none of them did this. And we talked about why that is. And, I can speculate. My research didn't explore that specific question. But the fact is that people who do this foster deeper, more significant parasocial connection than those who don't. When you express, I'm going to talk about this afternoon in my talk on innovation. People have chronic affirmation deficit today. People don't hear enough positive expressions of affection and gratitude. I'm going way off script. I need to make sure that I don't. Okay, but I'm going to say this is so important to me. John Gottman at the University of Washington did some research and said what he and his wife found was that you need 5 positive encounters for every negative one in order for a relationship to stay in balance. 5 positive for every negative. And for people who get that ratio in their lives generally, they are healthy, well-adjusted, they're willing to take risks, they're willing to push themselves, challenge themselves. Here's the problem. Pastors, are there any pastors here, by the way? If you're a pastor, good. So, okay, yeah, the 2 guys in back. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you guys for a second. Pastors do not get 5 positive interactions for every negative interaction. In fact, I think that pastors get 5 negative interactions for every positive interaction. What this leads to is chronic affirmation deficit. They are living in this negative bubble, and it makes them feel risk averse. They're afraid to try new things. They don't want to be innovative because they don't want to make a mistake, because when they make a mistake, they get shot at, okay? The most important thing that if this is the one big idea that's got nothing to do with the presentation, if this is your big idea, I want you to walk away with this. Affirm your pastor. Say good things to your pastor. Every week, say good things to your pastor. Because in an environment of negativity, and especially, I'm sorry to say, growing up in the Seventh-day Adventist Church, I haven't seen it today as much as I used to see it, but there was this focus on behavior, and if you weren't doing the right thing, you would hear about it. If you were doing the right thing, you wouldn't hear about it, but if you were doing the wrong thing, you would hear about it, right? And so there's this culture, and it's not just Adventists, it's conservative Christians in general that have this. But for your pastor needs to know how much you love them and literally tell them, I love you, okay? I'm speaking to the guys. If your pastor is a man, go up to your pastor every Sabbath, give him a hug, and say, I love you, man. I love you, brother. I'm serious. I do this every week, and I do this with my close, with even acquaintances. If there's somebody that I've had a deep connection with, if it's a guy, I'm going to give him a hug, and I'm going to say, I love you. If you watch after the Super Bowl, the winning team, the guys are in the locker room going around hugging each other and saying, I love you, man. If they can do that, if the big football players can do that, why can't we, okay? All right, so affirm your pastor. All right, there, I'm off my soapbox. And this is true for people in general, people in society today. We live in such a negative environment, especially on social media. There's so much negativity. if somebody posts something that is slightly not quite the way that someone agrees with, they will crucify them online. The negativity is, if a stranger said this to me, I would not attack them the way that I would online. If they were standing next to me in the grocery store and they said this, I wouldn't be attacking them in that way. But so much of our time is spent in the digital space. It's so negative. So expressing positive emotions to your followers, to the people in your video, that just be able to have a big smile and let it be a positive experience. Anytime your video comes on, you want people to see it and go, oh, I don't know why, but I like this person. I feel like I want to hear what they have to say. Because you want their heart, the emotional component is so important. You want their heart to have a little stutter when they see you because they like you, because you are pouring into their life. Not just the spiritual content, but the emotion, the care, the concern. And again, you're just recording on a camera, but you can talk as if you're talking to that 22-year-old girl that's watching it on the other side. Imagine the person that you're trying to reach and talk to your camera as if you're talking to them. It can be so powerful. Okay. Express positive feelings. All right, and then the last thing, I wanted to say this. This is biblical. Look at what the Apostle Paul did in almost every one of his letters. For example, in 1 Corinthians 1:4, I thank my God always concerning you for the grace of God which was given to you in Christ Jesus. I thank God for you. He would write in his letters, I'm so grateful that I got to plant this church. And at that time, in that culture, these expressions of positive affection in these letters were not normal. So this is a biblical concept to express positive feelings for people. And then the last one, number 8, you want to invite viewers to engage with the content. And if you're on social media at all, you understand this. Hey, if you like this content, please like it, subscribe, share it with a friend, leave a comment. Inviting people to engage with the content. When people engage with your content, that actually fosters the parasocial connection. It's really interesting research that people who would content, so I don't have time to talk about this study. Okay, really interesting. When people engage with your content, when they actively engage, when they like or subscribe or they comment or they share, that they build the parasocial connection with you through those actions. Anytime somebody's engaging with content, anytime I am engaging with content, my parasocial connection with that influencer is growing. Okay, and spending time with the content, I'm getting to know them. But when I engage, there's something psychological when I'm responding and I'm doing something physical, even if it's just heart and moving on, that's helping to cultivate the parasocial connection. And it's with everybody, not just our content, right? So these are the 8 essential techniques for cultivating parasocial relationships. Post consistently, use direct address, post widely, add value, offer self-disclosure, be authentic, express positive feelings, invite viewers to engage with the content. And altogether, these techniques create the foundation for trust. Not just digital attention, but genuine relational openness. Okay. Does that make sense? We're cultivating parasocial connections. This is how you do that. All right. So once you've done that, now what? You're ready for the next step. You're going to invite someone to take a spiritual action. This is where we harvest these parasocial relationships. So in the world of social media influencers, once you've cultivated this parasocial connection, it's time to, and here's the word that they use, it's time to exploit that parasocial relationship. It's literally the word that is used to describe this. exploitation. They build parasocial relationships and then exploit them for personal gain. They sell a product. They push a membership. They monetize your attention. But in ministry, our mindset is different because what are we trying to do? We're not trying to make money. We're trying to make disciples. Okay, so for us, we don't monetize. We don't exploit. We harvest. All right, that's a very biblical concept, right? Jesus said the harvest is great, but the workers are few. Pray the Lord of the harvest to send out more workers into his field. Harvest is a very biblical concept. When we harvest a parasocial relationship, we're not seeking profit, we're seeking transformation. We're inviting someone to take the next step in their spiritual journey. This might look like clicking a link to request Bible studies, registering for a live event, or registering for an in-person gathering, a seminar, reaching out for prayer or conversation. Ultimately, what you want is for them to walk through the doors of your church or to connect with you in person in some way, whether that's meeting at a coffee shop to talk about life or whatever. You want them to connect with you in person. That's the goal. And here's what's beautiful. By the time you actually meet them in person, they feel like they know you. They've heard your voice. They've seen the brightness of your eyes. They've listened to your stories. And the relationship may be one-sided for them, but the trust that they feel in you is very, very real. So let me give you a real example. Dr. Hiram Rester is a pastor in Columbus, Missouri, and his doctoral dissertation was actually what led me to study parasocial relationships. He posts short-form video content in his community, and he actually spends money to pay for advertising to make sure that it gets viewed within his local geographic area. Okay, so he posts regularly. One day he walks into a smoothie shop, and this 18-year-old kid behind the counter just lights up. "Are you that YouTube Bible guy?" And he's like, "Yeah." It's like, "Can I get a picture with you?" The guy comes around the corner, and Hiram showed me the picture that they took. And then it turned into a 15-minute spiritual conversation. "Well, where are you at? What do what's a video that you really like?" "Oh, I really liked this video." "Well, how did that impact you?" "Oh man, I've been thinking about this a lot." "Hey, would you like to study the Bible with me about this?" Okay, this kid feels like this is a big brother, someone who he loves and knows. "Wait, you want to spend time with me studying the Bible?" "Yeah, let's do it." Okay? This is what I mean by clearing the path for these in-person connections. 10,000 people walked through the doors of that smoothie shop in the previous year and talked to this 18-year-old kid. None of them had a spiritual conversation with him. Hiram posted videos online. The kid followed him. I'm sorry, I'm being disrespectful. When I say kid, I mean that in all love. 18-year-old kid sees Hiram and says, "Oh my goodness, are you that guy?" And they have a conversation that led to a spiritual encounter because he was online, because Hiram took the time to connect online. This kid had been watching for months. No comments, no likes, no DMs. Okay, I got to say this. I call my son Kid, and he's 16 years old. And and I asked him at one point, "Do you mind?" He's like, "Oh, whatever." And I'm like, Ken Griffey Jr. was known as the Kid, right? He's like, "Oh, really?" Yeah. So he's when I say kid, I mean in all love and respect. Okay, all right. I don't know why I felt like I needed to say that. So this kid had been watching for months. No comments, no direct messages, no engagement with any of the posts, but he had been listening, he'd been watching. And when they met, he felt like he already knew Hiram. And it led to a spiritual connection. That's what I mean by harvesting parasocial relationships for the kingdom. It's turning passive connection into spiritual action. But here's the key. To be really effective, you have to offer a clear invitation in your videos. Don't just post encouragement. Don't just tell stories. Ask them to take a step. Now, commercial enterprises do this very well. They understand that there's something as a business that they want you to do. And when you watch their content about their coffee shop, they ask you to come and try their coffee. They ask you to come to this event. They are very clear. And in a world that's filled with noise, clearly stating what you want someone to do is a gift to them. And then they can decide, well, I don't want to do that. Fine. But they might say, yeah, I'll do that. But if you don't ask and you're expecting them to figure it out, they're not going to figure it out. So you need to be very clear in a call to action. And there are 3 specific things that you can ask them to do in order to harvest these parasocial relationships evangelistically. So first of all, you can ask them to make a positive change in their life. So it could be encouragement to change their mindset. This week, will you just trust God? When you run into a situation, will you just pause and say, God, help? All right? Encouraging them to take a spiritual choice, a positive change in their life. It could be to begin some spiritual discipline, such as prayer or devotional reading. If you want to go deeper, send me a DM. I would love to pray for you. So that's the first thing, inviting people to make some positive change in their life spiritually. The second is inviting them to request a free resource. It could be a Bible study guide, it could be a prayer guide, a magazine, a book, whatever it is. Click the link in my bio. I'll send you a free Bible study guide on this topic. And then third, you can invite the viewer to an encounter where two-way social connection can be established. It could be through what we would call a computer-mediated meeting like Zoom, but it's synchronous. So you're there at the same time. So this is not parasocial, it's computer-mediated. And there's a pastor out in Baltimore. They've been doing a Zoom Bible study ever since COVID. And they made so many mistakes in the process, but they kept at it. And today, these guys are doing online Bible study over Zoom that last time they had this class, they do it twice a year. Last spring, they had 20-some baptisms. The number seems absurd to me for an online event. But they had 20 baptisms, people who started attending the church. They were baptized and became active members in the church but it wasn't just through the video. They did videos that then led to this online Zoom class that they would do. It could be an in-person experience. It could be an evangelistic meeting. It could be a Bible study. It could be a community barbecue, something where you're inviting people to come, where they feel like there's something of value. You could, join us in person this Saturday. We'd love to connect with you. I've got a seat saved for you. Probably the most powerful phrase that you can use in harvesting these parasocial relationships is to say, I'm going to be here. I would love to meet you. I would love to meet you. And that phrase, it took us a while to figure this out because there was one guy who had it backwards. You get to meet me. No. I would love to meet you because it's about the other person. And if you've built trust with them, if they've developed this parasocial relationship, they could have that, their heart could leap when you want to meet me for real? So inviting people to an in-person experience. Okay, be personal, be specific, and then be ready. Because when someone takes that step, they're not walking in cold. They already know you. They feel like they know you. They have that sense of connection. And that's what I mean by harvesting parasocial relationships. Does that make sense? We're going to watch TV now. Okay, we're going to watch. I have 4 videos I want to share. These are 4 examples of 4 different social media influencers, 3 1/4 social media influencers. So we're going to start with one, Colby Meyer. This guy has literally millions of followers on YouTube today, okay? So if you know his story, set that aside, just watch the video, okay?
Having faith doesn't mean I'm never afraid. Having faith means I move forward despite fear. knowing that God's got me wherever I go. Jesus said, in this world you will have many troubles, but take heart, for I have overcome the world. In other words, you're going to face trial. You're going to face opposition in life. You're going to face a lot of challenges that are going to come for you. And when you're faced with those challenges, those trials, those difficulties, and those fears, the Christian doesn't retreat. The Christian advances. The Christian says, even though these things look scary, I'm not going to allow them to bring me down, but I'm going to move forward in faith, believing that God is in my future, that God is paving the way, that God is making a way for me, that all the things that I can't see the outcome to right now, I don't need to be concerned about them because God has them. If you want to grow in your confidence in God and His Word, then get my free Bible reading plan. The link is in my bio.
Okay, several things about this. Colby's videos speak right to my heart. He was one of the pastor influencers that I studied, and I started looking forward to seeing his videos. I know this guy. I've worked with him, interacted with him for several years. But do you understand how this would be valuable to a generation that's filled with anxiety, all right? To say, hey, you're going to have troubles, but you know what? God's got this. There's value in that. Okay, let's watch another one. This guy is Chad Hensley. He's a non-Adventist pastor in, Tennessee or something like that.
You know, one of the major issues of life is that we think because of social media, we're so close to people. You can hear so clearly, yet we think we know someone. We think we know them because we see them on social media, but we're only seeing a snapshot. This morning, no matter what weight you're carrying, no matter what burden you have, you think, man, I'm so close to these people on social media, I need that feedback from them. I come out and I see this beautiful sunrise. I mean, it is something else. Holy and healthy living is what this Jesus follower is all about, and I want you to go conquer your day so you can conquer your life. And what does that mean today? That means for some of us, we think we're so close to God, but we're not that close. He's just secondary in our life. And He says, I need you to draw near to me, for when you draw near to me, I will draw near to you. Are you going to allow the Lord to be the Lord of your life? Today, as this beautiful sunrise happens, ask yourself the question, how close am I really to the Lord? And do I want to get closer? See, I want to get closer today.
Here's what I like about Chad. He posts across all 4 of the major platforms every single day. And he committed to it, and he's been going. The other thing I wanted to mention about Colby's is at the end, he had this call to action. Hey, if you want the Bible reading plan, and that responds, that actually gives him information about the person that he can then follow up with and begin building a synchronous, computer-mediated, text-based communication with them, which then could turn into eventually an in-person encounter. Okay, next one, Floyd Hughes. This guy's handle is Big Fat Pastor. All right, and predominantly TikTok. This guy is a TikTok pastor. Let's watch this one.
All right, good morning and welcome to our Saturday Snapshot, where we tell you on Saturday what we're going to talk about on Sunday. And on Sunday, we're going to talk about a topic that no one wants to hear about. We're going to talk about how sin and obeying the culture instead of following after God, how it impacts families, how it impacts communities, and how it impacts the people of God. And it's not a good thing. But if you're interested in hearing how the people of God can overcome that, then join us Sunday morning, 10:37 a.m. And if you're unable to join us in person at Crossroads Community Church, then join us on the live stream at Crossroads Community Church of Jefferson Hills on our Facebook page. And if you're unable to join either one of those, join a Sunday celebration somewhere.
All right. So what I like about this is that this is a call to action to come to the service. Let me tell you about Bree. Bree started following at Big Fat Pastor, Floyd Hughes, started following him on TikTok. And as you look at the public record of the interactions, she's not a social media influencer. She just watches TikTok videos. And she started commenting on Pastor Hughes' videos. Then one day, I see this video where he says, Bree showed up at church last week, and I screamed like a little girl at a Taylor Swift concert. That's literally what he said. Because I got to meet her in person. She drove 3 hours to come to his church to connect with him in person because week after week he was inviting her to do that. I saw a comment on that, and she said, I drove 3 hours, best believe I'm going to do it again because you're family now, and you're meaningful to me, and you speak to me. There was another post that I saw her make on another video that said, I grew up in the church, but I wandered away. And because of your videos, I'm reconnecting with my faith. That's parasocial evangelism. They didn't know each other before. She met him because he was online, and it touched her life. It changed her life. Okay. Now, I'm going to show you this last one. I am feeling a little bit of imposter syndrome because this is one of my videos. God convicted me about 2 months ago. So my heart is for pastors. I serve pastors and church leaders. This is what I do with my day. This is what I do with my week. This is my life. I pour my life into pastors. And one of the things that we do at SermonView is we help pastors do this. But God convicted me that if I've learned all these things, that I need to be doing this in my own community. So I started my own channel, literally launched it 6 days ago, okay? I'm posting 3 videos a week, and I'm far enough ahead that I can say I post 3 videos a week because I've got like 6 weeks ready to go. So I want to show you this one. Hint, hint, at Witzel on the way, if you want to follow, I would appreciate the follow. All right. A 7-day week makes no sense. A year? That's the earth going around the sun. A month? The moon circling the earth. A day? One spin of the planet. But a week? There's no astronomical reason for it. And yet, every culture, every corner of the world, 7 days. Why? Exodus 20:11 says, in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them. But he rested on the 7th day. God created the rhythm. 6 days of work, 1 day of rest. Not just tradition, it's divine design. It's how our souls are wired. And for those of us walking in the way, that rhythm isn't just old, it's life-giving. Work hard, rest well, worship deeply. What would change in your life if you actually lived by that rhythm? Drop a comment and let me know. What's the hardest part about resting? All right. So this is the type of content that we're talking about. Short form video, 60 seconds, 45 to 75 seconds. And it doesn't, it's work, I'm not going to lie. But if you commit to it, you can do it. If you want to be a social media influencer for Jesus using short form video, literally 3 hours a week is all that it would take for you to get going. Maybe a little bit more at first, but once you're underway, 3 hours a week, you should be able to do 2 or 3 videos a week, drop them, post them, no problem. Okay, let's see. Yes? Worship deeply. I can't believe that's what's getting. Okay, yes, all right. I receive your affirmation. Okay, so we're talking 30 to 90-second videos on Instagram Reels, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Facebook Reels. I'm actually also posting horizontal videos on YouTube. So I'm actually posting on 5 platforms, both YouTube Shorts and regular YouTube as well. So 3 videos, 5 platforms every week. Yeah. There is software that you can use to schedule posts. And let me be clear, I've been posting for 6 days on this channel, so I am no expert at this. I do it manually, though, because I'm using trending music on every platform, because trending music, the algorithm likes the trending music. So every platform has a collection of music, and then some songs start going, are more popular, and when the algorithm sees that, then it starts playing more videos using that music. So I'm using trending music on every one of the platforms, and you can't, I haven't found a tool that allows you to do that and post them all at the same time. But if you don't care about the music, if you want to just post, I mean, there's a tons of different programs. The one that I was using, that I am using, is called HeroPost, heropost.io. And you can upload your video and then schedule it on all 4 platforms all at once, and then it gets posted automatically. So yeah, there are things that you can do to automate that. Okay. I want to, what do I want to do? So I've got a couple of directions that I could go here. So I can talk about the mechanics of recording. So I can talk about lighting and your microphone and how to mount your camera. And I can talk about the kind of little workshop on the mechanics of recording video. I could also talk about the type of content that I've seen to be most impactful. I don't have time to do both. Which would you rather hear? Content? All right, you guys good with content? Okay, let's go do that. Okay. So for my channel, one of the things that I'm trying to do, I have a slide later on. I'll talk about it when I get there. So let's talk about short form content. Short form video is personal. You can easily produce multiple videos a week, so you can be frequent. And the algorithm pushes your content based on how it's doing. So if you offer valuable content and people like it, and people engage with it, then the algorithm says, oh, people like this, and it'll get pushed out to more people. So short form video is what I'm encouraging people to do at this point. And again, it's not just about growing the audience, it's about opening hearts to the gospel. So here's 5 tips to help your videos be more compelling. Okay, number 1, hook your audience. Most people skip a video after 3 to 5 seconds. Within 3 to 5 seconds, they make a decision whether they're going to watch it or not. So if you, the 3 videos that had really good hooks that I showed you, Alex Portillo's had a really good hook. Part of it was the way that he moved, it grabbed your attention, and then it pulled you in. Colby Meyer had a great hook about, what did it say? You're going to have trouble, And then my hook was a 7-day week makes no sense. And as soon as you say that, people are like, what? And then it makes sense as you go along, right? Your hook, you want to grab attention immediately. So, for example, did you know there are 5 things that even God doesn't know? Did you know that? He doesn't know a sinner he doesn't love. He doesn't know, there's four more. He doesn't know a better time than right now for you to give your heart to him. Did you see it? Hiram Rester did that. Okay, to be clear, that came from HMS Richards Sr. back in the day on VOP with the Radio Bible School back in the 1930s. He first did that. Good content is good content no matter what, right? So you can make a bold statement. Here's how to fix your spouse, spiritually, of course. You could lead with empathy. If you're feeling overwhelmed right now, I've got a verse for you. All right? And if someone's not feeling overwhelmed, flick and they move on. If somebody is feeling overwhelmed, they're going to go, I wonder what he's got to say for me. And then maybe they don't like the verse and then they go on, but you grabbed the people that you're trying to speak to. Second thing is you want to mix up the themes of your content. So I actually, for my channel, I have 3 types of themes for the content. I'm telling stories from the Pacific Northwest. So I'm talking about Fred Meyer and how he started his stores and how you can learn from him. There's a Bible verse, how you can learn from him, and how your struggle can be somebody else's blessing. So stories about Les Schwab, about why Battleground is named Battleground, that type of stuff, like stories from the Pacific Northwest. A second is theology or doctrine. So I did one on 7 days, which is really about the Sabbath, right? Did one on, I'm going to do one on what happens when you die, right? So kind of a doctrinal, and talking about grace and really the doctrines. And then the third is felt needs. I want to talk to the needs that people feel, talking about anxiety, don't be anxious, talking about that chronic affirmation deficit. The hook on that one is you are incredible. And I know you may not believe it when I say that, but here's why you are incredible. Because you were created by an incredible God. And you were created in his image. That makes you incredible, right? So here are some other examples. You could do, so you want to rotate through different types of things. So you could do something on Jesus' love or gospel encouragement, where that offers hope and reassurance, no strings attached, really just the good news. You could do something on Bible prophecy. Use that curiosity to open the spiritual conversation. You just give a taste. You don't want to overload with detail. You don't have time to do the 2,300-day prophecy in a 60-second video. But you could say, did you know that there's a prophecy in Daniel that said this? And then talk about it. You could do something on personal growth, sharing biblical topics on principles on topics like stress and rest and finances and relationships. One thing that one influencer that I follow has told me, he said that he does prayers. He just offers a prayer for the person. And he said that's been getting more engagement, more views than any of the rest of his content. And he just starts off, I have a prayer for you today. Lord, and then he just starts going. And he's praying for peace that's beyond understanding. He's praying for joy. And it's a prayer for somebody who needs to hear this. And those have been doing really well. Again, you're not just producing content, you're ministering to people's needs. All right? The third thing I mentioned before, but you want to be creating content that adds value. People go to social media for entertainment. They go for entertainment, but they stay for value. Ask yourself, how does this video help someone live better, think deeper, feel seen? So you could do like a daily walk. That's what Chad, his is a daily moment or something like that. Relatable struggle, how walking with Jesus makes a difference. You can visualize prophecy using artwork or imagery, weekly memory verse. So those are things, creating content that adds value. The goal is to offer bite-sized truth that makes a spiritual difference in somebody's life. Use self-disclosure. We talked about self-disclosure. Share your own experiences, failures, doubts, victories, lessons. I did a video for my staff. Some of my staff are not Adventists, they're not even Christian. Because if someone is talented and they're willing to serve our churches, then I want them on the team, even if they don't believe, all right? But I did a video talking about faith, specifically for my staff. And I said, I'm going to be honest, intellectually, I don't know if there is a God. I can't prove it, but I choose to believe because my life is better when I believe that there's a God. And here's the evidence in my life that there is a God. In my head, I can't prove it, but in my life, I prove it every day. All right? So that's sharing something personal that has potential impact for somebody. You want to keep it relevant to your message. You want to be authentic, not performative. So in your self-disclosure, you could do something about chai. Share something really amazing about chai. It's not even listening. Okay. Cross-culture Kev just walked in. All right. Now I'm feeling nervous. Okay, number 5, call to action. You want to include a call to action. Not every video needs to have a call to action, but a lot of them should. It doesn't have to be complex. Just offer a simple next step on the viewer's journey. Some examples. There's more to this story in the Bible. If you'd like a free Bible, click the link and let me know. If you want to learn more, I've got a free Bible study for you. Just click below. If you'd like prayer, I'd love to pray for you. Send me a DM. How can I pray for you? We've got an event coming up I'm excited about. You can pre-register clicking this link. So a call to action is, the key is to make it personal, relevant, and simple. There, it's official now. Personal, relevant, and simple. You're not selling anything, you're just offering spiritual opportunity. So these 5 things. Hook people fast, rotate through themes, add real value, be vulnerable and authentic, invite a next step. You don't need a production team. The phone in your pocket or your purse has a better camera. If you have a phone from the last 5 years and you haven't broken your camera like I often do with my phones, it's a better camera than a lot of $2,000 production cameras are. If you use the back facing camera. See, and I learned my lesson because mine has a cover on it now. The back facing camera is a better camera, and just set it up on a tripod and hit record and start going. I mean, it really is that simple. Okay, let me jump ahead then because I've got 12 minutes. I want to talk about a couple of things. I just want to mention what SermonView offers our Real Faith service. We have a boot camp, Real Faith boot camp. If you're feeling overwhelmed, we offer coaching where a professional video guy meets with you every week and goes over, reviews your video. Here's the next thing that you should try working on. Hey, let's work on lighting this week. Try doing this. Hey, let's work on your audio this week. So this is available, the Real Faith Boot Camp. It's 6 weeks long with hands-on coaching. You record, so you write the script, you record, and we handle everything else. We do all the editing, we post it on your social channels, all the technical details. Editing, color correcting, I'm not going to go through that whole list. It's a whole bunch of stuff. The point is that you don't have to do any of that. It's $695 for a 6-week boot camp, $695 for a 6-week boot camp. Once you're done with the boot camp, we can continue to work with you on doing the editing and the posting for you and everything like that. We designed this for pastors. Here's the thing. A pastor, there's only 2 pastors in there. I'm not going to talk, 3 pastors. I'm not going to talk to you guys. Take your pastor's sermon, take notes from the sermon, and then create videos from that. I tell pastors, you've done the hard work with the exegesis and planning your sermon and everything. That's the hard part. Now just turn it into short content and record it. Well, you guys didn't even do the hard work. You just had to listen, take notes, and record videos from the sermon. I'm serious. There's no reason why you can't. I mean, your pastor's plagiarizing. Why not you? What? I'm not saying that they'll cite their source. I know. Okay, all right. So you can learn more about this at realfaith.com. Last thing, I want to ask you this. How many of you are saying, this is nice, Larry. It sounds like a lot of work. I don't think I'm going to do this. Be honest. That's all right. Okay, so now I want to talk to you guys. And, well, all of you. I want to talk about what you can do to support digital missionaries. So maybe you're saying there's way too much work. I don't have anything to do with digital missions. That's not true. Every one of you have a crucial role in supporting digital missions. If you're already on social media, I'm going to give you some specific things that you can do to support our digital missionaries. Here's the thing. I mentioned this. The algorithm preferences content that people engage with. You see where I'm headed with this? The algorithm preferences content that people engage with. So, if you find a social media influencer like Cross Culture Kev, like Colby Meyer, like Samberto Alejandro, like Witzel on the Way, there's some things that you can do. First, follow or subscribe on all the channels that they're on. If you're not on YouTube, don't do it on YouTube. If you're not on TikTok, but whatever channels you are on, go find them, subscribe, follow, whatever. That is really helpful. But more than that, once you've subscribed, you're going to start seeing their content show up in your feed. When you see a video from an influencer that you want to support, watch the whole video. This is really important because the algorithm is paying attention that if people are watching the whole video, it says, oh, this must be some good content, and it's going to then preference this and push it out to other people. More things, like it, interact with it, hit that heart button, the thumbs up, whatever. Share the post on your own feed. And then finally, leave a comment. Comment on posts. The algorithm loves these behaviors. And if it sees people doing this with a piece of content, then it's going to push that content out to more people. So, find people who are doing digital missions. Follow them. And then interact with their content. It's not enough to just follow. When the video comes up, watch the whole thing. You probably thought when I said supporting digital missionaries, you're like, okay, where do I give money? No, I need you to give a little bit of your time. A little bit of your time. If you're on social media anyway, when spiritual content comes up, take an extra minute and support it with your time. All right, does that make sense? So I want to talk about, so engaging with missional content raises the profile on the platform. That's the bottom line. The more you interact with a piece of content. And so if your pastor has a social media channel that they're trying to do, the entire church, anybody who's on social media needs to be following that and paying attention. Your church social media posts. When the church posts something, interact with it, share it, comment. These things help to raise the profile of this content. Okay, so I want to end by mentioning Witzel on the Way. Like I said, this is brand new channel. I'm really feeling imposter syndrome right now. Started on Thursday, so there's 3 videos up. My goal, it's Faith, Hope, and Love from the PNW, Finding Jesus in the Everyday. So I tell a little story, share a verse that's relevant to it, and then an application and a call to action. You saw the video. These are the handles. I would love it if you would subscribe, follow, comment, like, all the stuff I just told you. All right? Do that for Cross Culture Kev. Do that for everybody. All right? Okay. That's everything. I got 5 minutes. Anybody have any questions? Hiram Rester. Rester, R-E-S-T-E-R. Hiram Rester. H-I-R something M. Thank you, Hiram. A-M, Hiram Rester. Any other questions? Yes, it's been recorded. Jeremy's doing an amazing job. Thank you, Jeremy. And so I saw the little video on demand icon, so this is going to be available on the camp meeting website someplace. I don't know where or how. I doubt that. It's probably going to be available for free online. So, yes, sir. Vertical integration, I love it. What is the implication of this type of content with the design and structure of our churches? So, right. So that's a much bigger question than I'm going to have 2 minutes to answer. When you're sharing content online, you want it to be, if you want people to be coming to your church, you want your content to be authentic to who your church is. So don't do something on how to make coffee if you don't have coffee at your church, right? You want it to be, so maybe you do something on prophecy, maybe you talk about some of the distinct doctrines or something like that. But when somebody comes through the doors of your church, this is a whole different soapbox. Your church has to be welcoming. Your church has to be ready for people. And this is what breaks my heart. I've had people that I've talked to say, Larry, I want to do this, but my church is not a welcoming place if somebody were to show up. So that's important, is making sure that your church is ready for these new people to be coming in, because they will come. They will come. All right. Yes, sir. The question is about gamification with trophies and badges on your site. I haven't studied that. I know that it's happening, and gamification is a huge area of online. It's an online tool, especially for driving traffic for commercial enterprises and stuff like that. It's an intriguing idea. Let me know how it goes. All right, let's pray. Lord Jesus, we want you to come soon. We're tired of this place. I pray, Lord, that every person is walking away here with a big idea. And I pray that you will cultivate this seed, that you will water it and fertilize it, and that it will grow not just into an idea, but it will grow into action, because it's through action that things get done. So I pray, Lord, that you will bless each person here, each person watching online, that we won't say, please help. We won't say, where can I help you, God? But we'll say, Lord, do your work through us today. I pray this all in the name of Jesus. Amen.